Alrighty guys, welcome back to another episode of the Tacho Show. This is your boy Tacho, of course, and we're doing another video request today. So this one is from our friend Profeffertoad, if I'm saying that right. Bit of a tongue twister there. So he says, can you talk about good inheritable weapons, please? Okay, that's a very good idea for a video. And we also have some replies here. Some people saying, I second this and yada yada. Yeah, I mean, we may just want to only think of the arcane weapons, but yeah, there are a lot of other weapons that can be ran, and the arcane weapons may not always be available to you. So, for a TLDR version of this video, I'm just going to pull up a list of all the standout weapons that I think are available. And we are still going to take a look at all the weapons and their effects and who I think can make good use of them. But here we go. This is the TLDR version of this video. So here is a list of all the worthwhile weapons, I think. We're just going to quickly scroll through here so you can take a look. And we're not talking about the Arcane or Arcane Nihility, which is the Beast weapon, and also the Colorless Vulture Tome. There's not really much point in talking about those because they are literally the only inheritable weapons for their type. So, I mean, if you want to use those, you might as well, but there's no other option. So, not really much point in making a list of those. So, there you go. Now, we're going to go ahead and take a look at these weapons one by one, and I will give you some examples of what sorts of units and builds you may want to run these on. So, Arcane Devourer should go without saying. This is, like, the best sword in the game for inheritance. Really, really strong weapon. You got the -1 special trigger, you get the special acceleration, you get all stats of 5, you get the 40% DR, and you get no follow-up. You really can't ask for anything better. So all your God Sword units, your like Merge Project ones like Lapis and etc. would make really good use of this weapon. But also, just the combo of the -1 special trigger and the acceleration there just makes it really potent for enabling a lot of specials, like Godlike Reflexes, for example. Really, the only thing we're missing here is tempo. Like, if we could somehow get tempo support, maybe as a Sacred Seal, like if they did a Sacred Seal with tempo, or if they gave us, like, a start a turn bonus that gave tempo as an effect, as opposed to the drive tempo from Legendary Female Byleth, that would really put this weapon over the top. But as it is right now, it's still really quite powerful. So fast units may make good use of this, and also slow units too. I feel like this is better than Arcane Lift's sword. I'm not even going to mention that weapon, because I don't think it's really that worthwhile. Even on slow units where you get Omni Breaker and Guard on that weapon, I feel like this is just better. Even on slow units, enabling your specials to activate more consistently is better. So the -1 trigger and the acceleration, I think, is better. And then you still get 40% DR on the first hit. And if the enemies have no follow-up, that's already rendering your Omni Breaker a moot point. So this, I think, is better. Alright, then we have the Flame Goonbai. This would be a better weapon for your slow units. So this one does attack and defense of 5, and then it also does a penalty on the enemy's attack and defense equal to 20% of your defense at the start of combat. So let's say you had 60 points of defense. That would be -12 to the foe's attack and defense. So, essentially a 17-point stat swing on attack and defense, and you can refine this to get defense. So, 4 more defense and 5 HP. This is a really good inheritable sword, and the stat swings put it over the top, in my opinion, which make it worthwhile. Then we have the Ninja Katana. These brave weapons just age super well. 1 more might than the Brave Sword, and then also 9 extra points of speed, because Brave Sword does speed -5. This does speed +4. You do take Def Res -4, but that's not a big deal. There is no counter to Brave attacks right now. We have counters to Desperation and Guaranteed Follow-Ups, but none whatsoever for Brave attacks. And you know it's coming, by the way. We are going to get a counter to Brave attacks eventually, with the way this game works. Okay, Wyvern Katana. This one's an enemy phase Brave weapon. It gives you Def Res up 5 and speed -8. So your slower sorts of units would make good use of this, particularly like a slow armor sword. So you could play them similar to Arden, essentially, like get the enemy phase Brave attack. You would give them like Vengeful Fighter 4 for the Omni Breaker and the acceleration on hit. So you could possibly quad and then give them like Sturdy Stance 3 to get the guard effect. And then you can give them Ignis to do a lot of damage. This is a really nice enemy phase weapon. So pretty solid there. Then we have the Allied Sword. This one is just here for support. So if you don't want to make your unit equipped the unit that's going to fight, you just want to help out your other guys, this would be the way to go. Joint drive attack and joint drive defense built into a sword, essentially. So dancing units would make good use of this, particularly Olivia and Sylvia and company. So those are the type of units that would want this. Okay, now we move on to the tomes now. So Arcane Eclipse is our Arcane Red tome. This one does -1 special trigger, a turn 1 pulse effect, which is nice for non-infantry types, or just infantry types that are running Spiral 4 times Pulse 4 builds. This is a really strong weapon here. Then you also get all stats of 5, a guaranteed follow-up, and nullify your penalties to attack. So very conducive to dealing a lot of damage there. It can also work out solidly on slower bait units too, because you're getting all stats of 5 and the guaranteed follow-up. And with the special procking, you may be able to just blow up the foes in one shot. Amity Blooms is okay too for a baiting option, and if you don't have access to the Arcane Tome, this would be a nice option. So it just does attack and res -5 and 4 HP healing on hit. So every time you hit the foe, you get 4 HP back, which is nice. The sustain is pretty underrated. Like, effects where you heal on hit are really good. So this could be a solid bait unit option there. Then we have the Red Vulture Tome. There was also a sword that had the Vulture effect, but it's a little easier to activate these sorts of effects on tomes, because they have easier access to debuff skills like Sabotage Attack Res, rather, and also Def Res Ploy 3. So, not hard at all to do a lot of debuffs with tomes where they have a lot of res, as opposed to sword units that typically don't. So this one can be a nice stat ball weapon if you're inflicting a lot of debuffs on the enemy. Then we move on to lances, and we have the Arcane Luan up first, basically a perf weapon in disguise as an inheritable weapon. This weapon is just cracked. So -1 special trigger, all stats of 5, 20% true damage based on speed, nullify the foe's bonuses to speed and defense, and null follow-up. Like, are you kidding me? This is actually better than a majority of perf lances that we've gotten. So, like, the fact that this is inheritable is just insane. The only downside is that it doesn't have special acceleration on hit, but who the hell cares, right? Like, this weapon is so strong on the player phase. We have also the Arcane Chang, a very nice arcane weapon as well to complement the Luan. This one's more for your slow units because it's got the -1 special trigger. It's got the Omni Breaker. It's got special acceleration on hit and all stats of 5. Even some fast units may prefer this just for the acceleration on hit. So like Winter Hilda, for example, I think makes good use of this. And even though she can use Luan as well, just getting that special ramping on hit is more conducive to enabling a lot of other specials. So this is a really nice weapon. Then we have the Allied Lance, just joint drive attack and defense again. So your dancing Lance units may want this, or supporting Lance units. And then we have the Hare's Lance, a pretty unique one. This one does attack and defense up 5, and then 40% DR on the enemy's first attack. There is another Lance that does 50% DR on the enemy's first attack, but they have to be able to do a follow-up. So if the enemies are only hitting you one time, this is just better. And 40% is not that much different from 50%, so this one is just better. And then we have its Curtains as well. This one is nice for consistent Gale Forcing. You get -2 cooldown at the start of turn 1. So very conducive for, like, nuking builds. If you want to run Special Spiral 4 stuff and Time Pulse 4, you can easily set yourself up. Or if you want to run Gale Force and get that really consistency on, like, Cavalry and Flyer types that have a hard time getting Pulse effects, this can be nice there. Then we have the Ninja Naginata, another brave weapon. This one gives you true damage based on the difference between speed. So you can get a maximum of 4 points of true damage, which is really effective on brave weapons. So already it's got more might than the brave Lance as well, so this is nice. And for an alternate flavor, if you want to go for speed up 4 instead of 4 points of true damage, this could be a better option too. So just getting raw speed may be nicer. Then we move on to the blue tomes. We have Arcane Euphoria, the most recent arcane weapon. This one's got -1 special trigger. You're getting all stats of 5. You make a guaranteed follow-up. You get 15% true damage based on attack and 30% DR on the enemy's first attack. This can be really nice when comboed with other DR effects like Remote Sparrow, or also Remote Sturdy and Remote Mirror, and also Brash Assault 4. You can get a lot of DR on these, like, less tanky units, these glass cannon nukes. So you can guarantee that you make it to the next attack and then just blow up the enemy. So this is a really nice tome on a lot of different units. Good variety. Magic Lantern can be nice as well. This one would be more so for non-infantry types, because you're getting cannot be slowed by terrain, so that would allow you to bypass like flame tiles and also tree tiles with infantry or trench tiles with your calves. And then special acceleration on hit, which is also a really nice start of turn bonus for your flyers and your calves that have a hard time getting that. Then you still get attack and res up 5 if you initiate or are in 2 spaces of an ally. So this one's got some applications there. Then we have the Silver Goblet, which is basically just Disengard 3 built into its home. So another support weapon for your dancers or other units that don't really want to fight, they just want to support. Alright, next up we move on to the axes now, Arcane Downfall. This weapon gets a lot of flack and I'm not really too sure why. So you get -1 special trigger, you get all stats of 5, you get Wary Fighter, you get special acceleration on hit, and then 7 HP recovery on hit as well. Like, just a very solid combination of effects here. The -1 with the special acceleration enables so many specials. So, this is just very consistent here. And the healing on hit is also really nice, too. So, like, slow axe armors really appreciate this, where they can get that consistent Pavis to activate. And then they can go ahead and get the healing as well, because if you're running Pavis, you most likely don't have healing anywhere. So, just a very nice weapon. I know people want the fast version. They want, like, null follow-up. They want, like, DR and things like that. But for the time being, this is a solid enough Arcane Axe. We have the Allied Axe. Once again, just joint drive, attack, and defense on an axe. So, good for your axe dancers and your support axes. Ninja Masakari, another brave axe with speed up 4. Shu Ken Cleaver, the same as the Ninja Naginata. You get true damage based on speed, and then defense and res -4, and the brave attack, so can be nice. Then we have Pedalfall Vase, which is our bootleg arcane fast axe at the moment. You get attack and speed up 5, you get null follow-up, and you get 5 true damage per hit. So this one's nice on your God Axe type units. And then we have the Stout Axe, which is giving us attack and defense up 5, and 50% DR on the enemy's first attack if the foe can do a follow-up. So this one works out pretty well for axes, because we don't have a Hare's Lance equivalent for axes. So this one you can go ahead and use, I guess. Alright, then we have the Wind Tribe Club. This weapon is just bananas. So there's no stat cap on this. Like, you can get so many stats out of this weapon. So at the start of turn, it gives you a guaranteed follow-up effect as a status and null panic. And then you're gaining attack and defense bonuses based on the number of bonuses on you or the number of penalties on the foe, times 2 plus 5. It's already giving you 2 active bonuses, so that would be 9 points of attack and defense. And the sky is the limit with this. There are just so many active bonuses and penalties now. So you can really stack this through the roof and get a lot of stats and numbers. So this can be a really potent weapon, honestly. And then we have the Wooden Tackle. This one's a little bit more awkward. Gives you attack and defense up 5, and then possibly attack and defense -10 on the foe if you have 40 HP or higher at the start of combat. It does help you keep that up with 10 HP healing after combat, but there's not really any telling what your HP will be after combat. Like, if the enemies hit you so hard, you get down to, like, 2 health. You're only going to have 12 health for the next round of combat, which is not going to do the full -10. So this one is more consistent on the first round of combat. Not so much later, but it can still be okay. It can still work, kind of. Alright, now we move on to Green Tomes, which is the first weapon type without an arcane option. So, Amity Blooms is the first one that we've got here. Does attack and res -5 and 4 HP recovery on hit. So, a nice little bait option weapon there. We have also Grandier here. This one is basically Spider Plushie, except for Green Tomes. So, does attack up 5, does attack -5, and inflicts guard. So, this one can be nice for bait units as well. Then we have Gryphon Vulture. As I said with the Wyver Vulture tome, this one is nice on tomes because they can get a lot of debuffs very easily. So the more debuffs, the more stats. Very solid overall. And then we have Snow Globe here. This one has attack res unity built in. So this would be nice comboed with Legendary Robin with attack res unity in the A slot. So you can just, like, pile your attack and res through the roof. So this weapon can be pretty strong for stat balling. Then we have the Teacake Tower. This one gives you all stats of 4, and then if the enemies have active bonuses on any individual stat, you're going to flip that into a penalty. So assuming they've got all stats of 7, you just essentially give them the middle finger and all stats -7. It's not always consistent to tell when the enemies will have blue bonuses, though. So this one's not quite as good as the Vulture Tome, I would say. That one's probably a little better. And then we have the Tea Time set right there. So this one gives you Canto 1, gives you attack and speed up 5, and it gives you half a null follow-up as well. This is a really potent weapon, honestly. This might be the best green tome for player phasers, because Canto 1 on tome units is just insane. Then you still get half a null follow-up and attack and speed up 5. So this is a very, very potent one. Okay, we move on to the staffs up next. We've got Grand Scratcher here, another weapon type without any arcane options yet, but we'll take what we can get. So this one gives you a turn 1 pulse effect to the ally with the highest attack. Very, very good for like non-infantry types to get pulse effects. So this is a solid weapon. We have also Incurable here, which does... it does 7 chip damage to the target and foes in 2 spaces, and then it also does deep wounds on them, and it prevents recovery during or after combat. So this can be like a better version of the Pain Plus staff. It also has more might than the Pain staff, so I think this is probably just better. Although the Pain staff does 10 chip damage instead, so maybe if you don't care about deep wounds so much, maybe Pain Plus could be better, but I think this is probably just better. Alright, we have Melancholy up next. Also, Witchy Wand does the same thing. There are a couple of weapons that do the same thing. Like, for those cases, I just put a little slash and then name the other weapon that does the same effect there, so you can see, like, which weapons have the same thing. Alright, this one resets the enemy's special and then inflicts guard on the target and foes in 2 spaces after you attack. Resetting specials is really powerful, so, like, this weapon's got a lot of potential there. And you can mix and match. I think Arcane, or Ascended Alincia's special does this already. So you can mix and match with this. You can run, like, the Duo Elise special, Holy Pressure, or you can run Fallen Maria's special, Holy Panic, and you can mix and match a bunch of staff effects if you want to. So this could be a really nice weapon there. Then we have Observant Staff, which gives you all stats of 6 and nullifying the enemy's bonuses if there is an ally within 3 spaces that has ally support. So ally support has been on the rise lately. We've gotten a lot of effects that are doing that now. So the Wind Tribe Dagger that gives you support Pathfinder, or Legendary Allure who gives you support Null DR, like things like that. Those are on the rise, so this weapon is pretty solid, honestly. Alright, we have Respite here, which does defensive res up 2 and guard support to allies in 2 spaces. Guard support is really clutch, and we'll take a little bit of defense and res there. So this can be a nice option for support staffs to just make your tanks enable guard and just be a little bit beefier there. We got the Seaside Parasol. This one is from the Summer Larachel. This one inflicts guard start a turn to the nearest foe in 5 spaces and foes in 2 spaces of them that have a save skill. I don't know why it wasn't just all foes, but whatever. Then you're also getting attack and speed up 5 and doing a res debuff on the foe equal to 4 times the number of bonuses or penalties the foe has active, which is going to be a lot. I mean, there's so many active bonuses and penalties right now, and you're already doing 1 with guard, so at the very least, it's 4. So attack and speed up 5, res -4 by itself, but this will snowball all the way up to 16 very easily. Super easy to get a lot of penalties and bonuses now. So, a very nice offensive staff there. Okay, next up we move on to the Dragon Stones. We have Arcane Grima here, a really strong weapon. There's not too many other inheritable Dragon Stones that can compete with this, although we do have one. So this gives you -1 special trigger, gives you all stats of 5, gives you a guaranteed follow-up, 15% true damage based on attack, and 7 HP recovery after combat. So, like, just everything you could ever want on a dragon for the most part there. Very, very powerful weapon, but I think Surprise Breath can hang in there, kind of. So it gives you attack and res up 5, and then 20% 20% of your res will be decreased on the enemy's attack and res. So as we said earlier with Flame Goonbai, if you got like 60 points of res there, that's -12 attack and res on the foe. So a lot of stat balls with this, like this would be nice for that. Can get you more stats than the Arcane Grima, but I still think Arcane Grima may be a slight bit better. But you can run this, it's not the worst, and it's also more accessible being on a Tempest Trial unit. Okay, we have the bows up next. Arcane Dark Bow, which is a player phase bow. This one has -1 special trigger, attack and speed up 6, nullify your penalties, half a null follow-up, and also desperation. You could not possibly ask for anything else here other than special acceleration on hit for a player phaser, or nullify guard, but I mean, this is as good as it gets pretty much for player phase weapons. Then we have Arcane Naston. This one is more of an all-around type of weapon. It can work on player phasers and bait units alike, so this one's pretty good. -1 special trigger. You get all stats of 5. You get a guaranteed follow-up. You get 30% DR on the enemy's first attack. And then you get a bonus to your attack equal to the enemy's max special count times 2 -12. So the lower their special count, the better the stat boost is going to be. So if they've got a 2-hit special with -1 cooldown, that would be 2 -12 for 10 points of attack. Quite a lot of attack there. But the higher cost specials will make this a little bit worse. Now, the DR on the first hit is really nice, and it combos well with stuff like Remote Sparrow and Brash Assault 4 and things like that. So this could be a really nice weapon on a whole variety of units. Not too shabby there. Okay, we have the Fiddlestick bow. This one is only good on, like, this unit right here. She comes with it. She may be the only, like, bow dancer, to my knowledge. There probably is another bow dancer, but I can't remember. Either way, it's just close guard built into a bow. So, another support weapon option for units that don't want to fight. Just help your other guys do better. Alright, White Cap Bow, which was previously the best inheritable bow. It has a brave attack if you have 10 more points of speed than the enemies. It's got the full might as well, which is nice, and then attack and speed up 5. This was like a crazy weapon when it came out. But being 10 points faster than the foe is kind of sus now. Not really too sure if you're going to be able to get this consistently anymore. But as long as you're able to get it, it's still a very powerful weapon. So this one's really nice. We have the White Wind Bow. This one is crazy. This one's actually, like, possibly better than the Dark Bow, if you can get, like, all these things to activate here. So it gives you null follow-up and null panic at the start of the turn. Then you're getting attack and speed up X equal to the number of bonuses on you and the number of penalties on the foe times 2 plus 5. It's already giving you 2 bonuses, so that's 9 attack and speed. And this can spiral out of control really quickly because there's no cap on this. You can just get as many stats as you can humanly imagine. So, comboing this with, like, Brave Attack support from Catria and Cordelia, and maybe even Desperation support from, like, Firestorm Dance 3, this can easily outperform the Arcane Dark Bow. So this is a really powerful weapon here. Alright, then we have the Wyver Numi. This one is a enemy phase Brave weapon. Gives you defense and res up 5, speed -8, and then dual phase Brave. So you can certainly find a lot of units that can use this. Bait units, like armored bow units, for example, would be pretty good with this. Alright, and then finally we move on to daggers, which are in a rough spot, man. They need that Arcane Dagger as fast as possible. We need that Arcane Unaka, man. We cannot wait for that Arcane Unaka. So, Armor Pin Dagger here, effective against armor, and then Hardy Bearing, and Dagger 7. Like, the fact that I have to bring this up out of all the options we have is just... that should tell you where daggers are right now. But Hardy Bearing is actually pretty clutch. And effective against armor, far save is so common, so being effective against armor with a ranged weapon is nice. Barb Shuriken gives you -1 cooldown count, and then Dagger 7. So, this is pretty solid. Comboed on infantry types with Times Pulse 4 and Special Spiral 4, you can do a lot of damage there. Broadleaf Fan, years and years ago when this came out, this was insane. It's still kind of good now. Just gives you bonus damage based on how many penalties the foes have active. And it's not too difficult to get a lot of penalties with all the penalty effects we have active. So, this is a little better than the Cleaner in my opinion. That's another dagger that does bonus damage based on the enemy's total bonuses. But I feel like it's easier to guarantee they have penalties than having bonuses, so I like this a little better. Alright, we also have Bunny's Egg. This one's nice. So it gives you attack and speed up 5, and then 30% DR on the first hit, and Dagger 7. Combos well with, like, Remote Sparrow and Brash Assault 4 and things like that. We got the Caltrop Dagger here. This one has Hardy Bearing and effective against Cav. So, again, Cavs are a very common movement type that you'll see. And Hardy Fighter or Hardy Bearing is really nice to get. Then we have Courtly Mask here. This one does attack and res up 5 and 50% DR if the foe can follow up. which they probably will if you're giving this to a slow unit. So the amount of DR there is pretty solid for a bait unit. This is a nice bait weapon. You have the Florid Knife. This is probably the best dagger, I want to say. Maybe. There may be like one other dagger that's really good, but this one's good. So you get Canto 1 on a ranged unit, which is obviously powerful. Then you get attack and speed up 5 and dagger 7. So it's just very conducive there to player phasing. We have the Quick Dagger as well. This one does -2 cooldown count at the start of turn 1. Combos nicely with times +4 and special spiral 4. Or also just giving this to cavalry and flying dagger types that don't have easy ways to get cooldown reduction. Then we got the Splashy Bucket here. I like this one a little bit more than Cloud Myogi and also the Dragon Slasher. I think this is a little bit better. So you get effective against Dragon, and then you nullify adaptive damage. So Dragons would normally have adaptive damage on your dagger here. So giving this to a high-res dagger would be pretty nice. So they can like give the middle finger to Dragon types. And there are quite a lot of Dragons, particularly far-save Dragons. So not too shabby of a dagger there. And then finally, we've got the Vicious Dagger. This is probably like the tied weapon with the Florid Dagger, I would say. Gives you attack and speed up 5, and then half a null follow-up and dagger 7. So very easy to see why this would be a nice player phase tool. So that's going to wrap us up for all of the noteworthy inheritable weapons. Hope this was informative for you guys and gave you some examples of things you can do without the arcane weapons if you don't have them. So once again, that compiled list right here for the TLDR. And also the weapons that have the same effects are noted with a / right there. So there you guys go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you would like to see another video, then go ahead and request it. But we are still taking requests. This is your boy Tacho signing out. So take care, fellas. And I'll catch y'all again on the flip side.